If you want to understand why human history is a non-stop cycle of tribal warfare, political gridlock, and sports riots, you don't need to look at politics or economics. You need to look inside your own skull. Imagine you're walking into a room full of total strangers. Within seconds, your brain does something completely automatically. It scans the room, divides the people into two distinct groups, and makes a silent, powerful judgment call. Who is with me and who is against me? This is in-group bias. It is one of the most deeply hardwired, primitive cognitive biases we possess. Simply put, it's our undeniable psychological tendency to favor, trust, and forgive people we perceive as members of our own group, our in-group, while simultaneously viewing outsiders, the out-group, with suspicion, hostility, or outright disdain. The scary part? The group doesn't even have to be real. It doesn't have to be your family, your religion, or your country. Your brain will trigger this bias over the absolute flimsiest, most meaningless categories imaginable. And once it flips that switch, your ability to think rationally drops to zero. The minimal group experiments. To understand how terrifyingly easy it is to manipulate this glitch, we have to look back at the 1970s. A social psychologist named Henri Tajfel wanted to find out exactly how much conflict it takes to make humans turn on each other. He brought a bunch of teenage boys into a lab and showed them paintings by two different modern artists, Paul Klee and Wassily Kandinsky. The boys were asked which style they preferred, and based solely on their answers, they were divided into two groups, the Klee fans and the Kandinsky fans. They didn't know each other. They never met face to face. The division was completely trivial. Then Tajfel gave them a task. He handed each boy a stack of real money and told them they could distribute it to the other boys in the study. All they knew about the recipients was an anonymous code number and which artist group they belonged to. What happened next shocked the researchers. The boys didn't divide the money fairly. They consistently gave more money to members of their own group. But it gets worse. When given a choice, the boys actively chose options that gave their own group less total money overall, as long as it meant the other group got even less. They prioritized creating a gap between us and them, over maximizing their own profit. This became known as the minimal group paradigm. It proved that humans do not need deep historical grievances to discriminate. We just need a label. So, why are our brains so quick to play favorites? Why are we wired to be so tribal? As always, the answer lies in our evolutionary survival guide. For roughly 99% of human history, living in isolation meant death. If you were a lone wanderer on the ancient savanna, you were saber-toothed tiger food. Survival depended entirely on the strength, cohesion, and absolute loyalty of your immediate tribe. In that harsh environment, cooperation within the group was a superpower. You had to share food, defend territory, and watch each other's backs. But just as importantly, you had to treat outsiders as an immediate threat. If a competing tribe showed up, assuming they were peaceful could get your entire family wiped out. Your brain evolved to operate on a strict defensive heuristic. Trust the tribe blindly, fear the stranger instinctively. Today, we don't live in mud huts or fight over watering holes. But we are running modern civilization on that exact same Pleistocene hardware. Our brains are efficiency machines, and in-group bias is a massive CPU saver. Instead of evaluating every single person we meet based on their individual character, morals, and actions, our brain uses a shortcut. If they wear the same jersey, speak the same language, or vote for the same candidate, the brain checks the safe box and gives them a free pass. The illusion of moral superiority. Once your brain categorizes someone into your in-group, a fascinating psychological distortion happens. We don't just prefer them, we completely change how we interpret their behavior. This is tied to what psychologists call the ultimate attribution error. Think about it like this. When someone in your political party or your favorite sports team makes a massive, embarrassing mistake, how do you react? You look for excuses. You say, well, they were under a lot of pressure, or the media is taking it out of context, or it was an honest accident. You credit their failures to situational factors outside their control. But when someone from the opposing group makes the exact same mistake, the narrative changes completely. Suddenly, it's not an accident. It's proof of their character. You say, see, they're incompetent, they're corrupt, they're fundamentally bad people. We judge our own group by our intentions, but we judge the outgroup by their worst mistakes. This creates a dangerous illusion of moral superiority. We genuinely believe that our side is rational, peaceful, and driven by noble goals, while the other side is malicious, ignorant, and destructive. It destroys nuance. It turns complex societal debates into a simplistic comic book narrative of heroes versus villains. The modern manipulation machine. In the modern digital age, this genetic glitch isn't just an internal bias anymore. It's an industry. Social media algorithms are explicitly designed to hijack your in-group bias because division drives engagement. High-emotion content, specifically content that triggers outrage against an outgroup, gets shared at vastly higher rates. When an algorithm detects that you belong to a specific subculture, political ideology, or lifestyle aesthetic, it doesn't just show you things you like. It feeds you a steady stream of content showing how ridiculous, stupid, or dangerous the other side is. It creates an echo chamber that supercharges your tribal instincts. You are constantly validated by your digital in-group while being trained to look down on the out-group. And the more isolated we become inside these digital tribes, the easier we are to manipulate. Marketers, politicians, and media corporations know that if they can successfully position themselves as the protectors of your in-group, you will buy their products, vote for their platform, and defend their scandals blindly. You hand over your critical thinking in exchange for the warm, comforting feeling of belonging. Breaking the tribal spell. So, how do we break the spell? How do we override a bias that has been hardwired into our DNA for hundreds of thousands of years? It starts with acknowledging that your loyalty is being weaponized. The next time you feel a sudden surge of anger toward a group of people, or the next time you find yourself instantly defending someone on your side who clearly did something wrong, pause. Ask yourself the hard question. Am I evaluating the facts here, or am I just defending the jersey? True intelligence isn't about choosing the right tribe. It's about having the courage to look past the labels entirely. It's about realizing that the person across the aisle, across the border, or on the other side of the internet isn't an existential threat. They're just another human running the exact same flawed psychological software as you. Stop letting the labels do the thinking for you. Don't just watch the tribal show. Look at the mechanics behind the curtain. Find your frequency and stay in flow. Click that subscribe button.